What is good, y'all? I am back. My name is Kevin Parrington Turner, and in this video, I am going to tell y'all the difference between covering high school, college, and the pros. Now, I'm going to just let y'all know out the gate, when it comes to the winter season, that's when I'm covering mostly college and some high school. When it comes to the fall and the spring, high school, most sports, and then I sprinkle in some pro games, whether it's the NBA, whether it's boxing, whether it's football, whether it's some track, what a lot of pro stuff, a lot of college, and a lot of high school. So I definitely have some knowledge on the difference between covering each sport. Now I'm gonna start with high school. Now, when you cover high school, it is easy access. You know, you might have a pass, a press pass like this you have to show, but for most times you don't really need it. Usually the playoffs and championship games are the only time you really need to use it. The players and coaches you can talk to right on the field or right on the court after or before the games when you want to. You know, the roster, the stats, you can go up to the people keeping track of them. I usually write them personally while the game's going on, but you can also just talk to them. It's pretty easy going all the way around. When it comes to taking photos, taking videos, tweeting, it's all really easy, not much resistance, because there's no contracts, there's no deals going on to certain rights. I mean, here and there you get it with some big games, but that's few and far in between. So when it comes to high school, it's fairly easy to cover it. And it's fairly easy to write about it and do whatever story you want, features you want, talk to any players you want. Someone who was on the bench who didn't play, but they have a good story to them, you can talk to them. The star player, you can talk to them. You know, only really when it's number one versus number two team in the country and it's a big packed gym, it gets a little weird, but even still, you can walk up to the coaches, walk up to the athletic directors, and they can get you right outside the locker room waiting for the player to talk to. So high school, it's fairly easier, but it's also harder in some aspects. Football, hardest one. You got to write down your own stats. Write down your own stats, tweet it out, take video, take photos if you don't have a photographer. High school football, depending on where you're at, here in New Jersey, they love high school football. It's a big thing. Think about Texas, it's a big thing. In basketball, they love New Jersey basketball. So it's not always the easiest. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Football, definitely not easy. So when it comes to high school, it has some ups and downs, but you do get some stinker games. No question about it. You get some bad games, a lot of turnovers, a lot of missed shots, a lot of strikeouts, a lot of errors. You know, it comes with the job. You know, they're not pros. They're not all of them going to go to college. Most of them aren't. So you get some stinker games, but you do get some really good stories that are held to you because most times, I'm the only reporter at these games. So high school has its own niche, but it's really dope when you really get into it. Now, when it comes to college, a little different. Some ways not, some ways it is. And we're talking about Division I college. You know, we're talking about the FCS, the FBS, the basketball. We're not talking about Division III community college. Those are kind of the same thing as high school, where you can just kind of talk to the athletic director and talk to the coach, and you can get a player if you want. You can get a coach if you want. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the Division I, when it comes to the FBS, FCS, lacrosse, anything you could think of, it's a little bit different. One of the biggest things is the players and the coaches, they've been stars in high school, so they can know how to answer some questions really easy. You know, high school, a lot of kids are nervous, especially a freshman who's never been asked questions about their game, that doesn't know it's going to go in the paper, doesn't know it's going to go on the internet, doesn't know it's about to be recorded and published. Same thing with the coaches who might just be an accountant that's being a coach on the side. You know, when it comes to college, this is their profession. This is their career for the players and the coaches. They know how to answer questions, and they give you some good quotes, especially the coaches. It's not high school. They don't have to have much of a filter. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but it makes for a better story. Now, also, it's better games, better crowds, loud crowds. Sometimes you're in arenas, you're in stadiums, and it makes for really good finishes, buzzer beaters. This past season, a walk-on for Monmouth hit a buzzer beater, and it was on ESPN, and I was the one who was able to cover the story. It was really dope and take video. And, when it comes to video as well, it's not the same as high school. Each conference in the division has brand deals, has rights to certain footage, so you can get some video, some photos, but it's not as clean as high school. You could just walk on the field and take some photos, take some videos. It's not the same. You do need your press pass, but you also got to hit up the athletic director before you get there. And they do have a little bit of security, but it's not the same as the pros. Sometimes they do have food as well. So, and when it comes to college, there are good feature stories, especially if you're covering mid-majors, you're covering the FCS, and it's not the Alabamas, it's not the Kentuckys of the world where you're going to see multiple reporters. You still get some great features to yourself that you're able to cover every day and beat right. So if you really like journalism, if you really like the everyday, day-to-day grind, but still want to have the features to yourself and not have the competitive, who's going to break what news because there's so many reporters, how are you going to stick out? College is the perfect level. I also forgot when it comes to college and when it comes to high school, the difference is at the college level, you can be a little bit more honest. I'm not saying you're not honest at high school, but if a kid goes 0 for 7 from 3, you're kind of leaving that out, you know? If it's a regular kid and he doesn't have a good shooting night, you know, the team loses 5 straight, they haven't won a game all season, you don't really mention that. College, you mention it. A team loses 3 straight, you mention it. It's the final year of a coach's contract and they haven't made it to the playoffs, you mention it. You do get a lot of pushback, especially if you're the only reporter there and you see them face to face. You do hear from them for sure. And that's one of the ups and downsides of moving up in certain levels of reporting. Something to keep in mind. I had to add that in. Now, when it comes to the NBA or pros just in general, it is different than the high school and the college, but it's not different in a way. Still reporting, still covering it, still watching the game, talking to the players, talking to the coaches, tweeting things out. But there's more money involved, which means there's going to be some differences. One, forget a media pass. You need to contact the media department, the marketing department of the franchise days before. A lot of times, if you do it the day before, you're likely not going to get in. And then they have a shot clock if you want to talk to players during shoot around, but each player is available a small window of time. And if you miss that time, well, now they're back in the tunnel and getting ready for the game. So you miss your chance with that. And then for the post game, some people can request it. Some people do a locker scrum where all the reporters go into the locker room and go to each player that they want to talk to. That doesn't happen every game. Doesn't happen most games. Most games, especially if they lose, you just talk to the coach. You might talk to one player who had the game high. You know, it's a little bit more overseeing, you know, by higher ups because there's more reporters. And now you're sitting here with more competition. How are you going to stick out? How are you going to break some news? How are you going to get a feature story when everyone knows each player on that team? It's a little bit harder, but obviously it's the pros. People travel for it, you know, big crowds, stadiums, arenas, packed out, loud, you know, guys dropping 40 points, celebrities show up at the games, free food. That's another one. It's greater games, better games. Obviously, when it comes to reporting too, it goes up to the point where at the pros, what's going to get views? You see Stephen A. on TV. You see Michael Wilbon. You see so many of these guys, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp. How they deliver it is what gets the ratings. Not to say you got to do everything over the top or you lie for sure. Nah, never. And not saying those guys do. But at that level, it's still reporting, but it's also what gets the most ratings. And especially if you're writing, what's going to do that? And sometimes it's breaking news. Sometimes it's getting an inside scoop that a player might not like, and then you got to show up to the next game and they know you're the one that posted it. Yeah, they do read what you say. The coaches, the players do. They know what you're writing about them. So, but of course, when it comes to the pros, it's more money, it's more fun, it's what you dreamed of as a kid, or it's what you dreamed of out of college and what you aim for. So there's ups and downs to every single level. And that's what I have for you. Also forgot when it comes to the pros, when it comes to taking video, photos, a little bit harder because brand deals, certain rights, you know, copyright infringement, putting on YouTube, putting on certain things, it's hard. It's hard. And also when it comes to players and coaches answering things, you would think at that level, yeah, sometimes you get a good quote. Sometimes you do. But everybody got that quote. Everybody get that quote. And now it's on YouTube. The press conference a lot of times. And it's usually a PC answer. So it's tough to get a you know, a real groundbreaking story at that level. But that's all I got for you, man. My name is Kevin Parrington Turner. If you have any more questions, if you want to have any more suggestions of what I should do next, please let me know in the comments. Please subscribe. Please like. I'm here for you. I appreciate y'all. Till next time, peace.